So connected vehicles, it's funny in the morning, there was a lot of traffic. These days it's crazy coming from Delhi to Gurgaon to Delhi. So I was with my wife in the car and I was just telling about this panel today. She said, so this connected car, can it talk to the car which is in the front and tell us actually how long will it take for us to actually come there? I said, no, right now we need to trust Google Maps only. Those kind of use cases, hopefully with the connected cars also will develop, that, the cars can actually talk to each other and figure out and see why are they in traffic and, do something about it. We've been talking about 5G, we've been talking about the adaptability of it and the way the world is evolving. And now, this is the time to talk about actual use cases. One of the first things that comes in mind in terms of the adoption and in terms of what is actually a reality is actually vehicles, the connected vehicles, so to say, autonomous vehicles, the use cases around automotive industry, be it in any form and shape. I think that's been the fastest adoption of, connections or Industry 4.0 or 5G as the underlying technology. So, the whole idea of today's panel is to just, talk more on that, get to hear from the panelists on the thoughts and how this thing is moving, what is next, what are the challenges. So, that's what we will discuss in the next, 35, 40 odd minutes. But just before that, I think we'll do a quick round of initial thoughts and intro. Let me start with myself. I'm Vinish Bawa, a partner with PwC, heading the telecom sector, and been in telco world for many, many years, and done a lot of work around private networks, 5G, the usage and the usability of all this. So a lot of experience with that. Happy to hear with the esteemed panelists. So just maybe starting from here, a quick round of yourself, your company, just initial thoughts on this panel.
Good afternoon. Hi, I'm Girish. I head the system engineering for Ciena, system and sales engineering. I've been in industry since 20 years now, more than 20 years. We at Ciena have been powering the transport system, the transport networking for all service providers, including government and private sector in India. And we also partner with GCNs, helping them build their networks. Interesting starting point, Vinish, on whether a car can talk to the other car. I think that's going to happen very soon, and that's a use case that we are here to discuss. Over to you.
Thank you, Vinish. Thank you, lovely audience here, fellow panelists. My name is Mayur. I represent Corrit Electric. We are new age OEM for electric two-wheelers. Something that we are doing differently is that we have started making products that will be hitting the market for the gig workers. That's about 10 million right now when we talk right now. Parallelly, we are hitting the economies of Africa and Indonesia as well. While Vinish is talking about the connected vehicles, but I would want to relate to what Mayank had just said a while back. When I see electric vehicles, I see these to be evolving in the tune of mobile phones probably. Every 2 years or 3 years, you will see the technology evolving. Every 2 or 3 years, you will see new features coming up. So while this is just the beginning, but you may very well see the vehicles indeed talking to each other probably in a, no more than 12 months of time. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be here. My name is Bijvelds. I represent Tata Communications, the Move business, which is the IoT business within the company. As Tata Communications, we provide connectivity solutions to the automotive industry. We've got large OEMs that we work with. And just to take connectivity a little bit into perspective, when I think about connectivity, it's not just obviously 5G or anything that is related to that. To us, connectivity is enabling our customers to consume connectivity in a wider sense, in a simple way. So that's why we created the digital fabric, which is consisting of the network fabric, the cloud fabric, the IoT fabric, and the customer interaction fabric. I think when we talk about connected vehicles, that's the notion we should look at connectivity, because it's all about consuming connectivity in a simple way, and that's how we do that. Just a side note on connected vehicles and being in India, when I drive on the streets in Mumbai and in Delhi, the connected vehicle connotation is very different, I must say. So that's just the way
we'll
of
talk
looking
more
at
on
it.
that.
Good afternoon, friends, my brothers and sisters here. My name is Shakya. I work with the Ministry of Communications, Department Telecommunications. I'm fortunate to be part of the International Telecommunication Union, working there in the capacity of the senior advisor on behalf of the Government of India, and headed the area office for the Six Nations here. Prior to that, I had also been lucky to serve as the head of the regulatory authority of the Government of Mauritius, besides various departments within the DoT heading different verticals. For me, nowadays, whenever we are talking of the new technologies, including the V2X or V versus other all kind of the connectivities, I remember the statement made by our beloved Prime Minister in the last India Mobile Congress. And he said, as far as country is concerned, future is now. Normally, whenever the future comes, people feel that the future means something is going to come. But his statement that the future is now is the reality for our communication world, including the connected cars, with all sort of features, as my friend is expecting to happen. The way innovations are taking place all around the country, along with the rest of the world, I'm sure we are not only going to be the leader, but maybe the path setter in terms of the communication technologies being adopted, in terms of the policies which are going to be in place on behalf of the Government of India. And I see that as far as connected concern is concerned, the vision of Prime Minister is going to be true, and we all are going to be part of this journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Shakya ji. Lovely to hear that. And yeah, I'm sure the way the development is going on, the thought process of the country, it will lead in all these new technologies for sure. So looking forward to that. So moving on, Marco, let me start with yourself. In your view, this whole connected vehicle as an underlying statement that we give, what are the few use cases that you feel are going to define this connected vehicle? What are those 4 or 5 critical use cases, and maybe some which are already there and some which are going to come? Just want to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, let me share the things that we're working on right now with the auto OEMs, which are true use cases that are here and now. As was referred to this morning, in the end, it's about making money or saving money, right? That's what we do with connected vehicle, and all use cases are associated with that. I think the auto industry is still struggling to monetize connectivity. That's a big question mark still, how to do that. There's going to be futuristic use cases that we even haven't thought of. A few are there already. Obviously, infotainment is a clear one, and quite a few auto OEMs make money on the back of that. That's one that is here and now. Other use cases that we see is obviously telematics. That is a very obvious one to, let's say, manage the car remotely, monitor remotely. And the third one that is here is now is private networks for manufacturing. I think that's the big one. Those 3 use cases are being deployed at scale right now. If you think about the future use cases and that we're working on, it's all about autonomous driving. It's all about software-defined vehicles, offloading all kind of technology from the car to the edge. These are the type of use cases that will happen quite soon, and that will require technologies like 5G. Not just the non-standalone version that we have right now, but at some point when we go to the more advanced use cases, obviously we need to go towards 5G SA to truly get to the value of 5G as it was designed for. But that will take some time. I think there's delay on autonomous driving, so level 5 autonomous driving, I think that's quite a few years out right now, being acknowledged by the market. Also, EV is being delayed a little bit. There's brands right now retreating a little bit. I think everybody's convinced it's going to come, but it's going to come in a stage-wise approach. And again, the auto OEMs have to think about their monetization models and how to make money out of connected car.
Interesting. So it's not only entertainment, I think it's safety, entertainment. These are the top two in that area, right? Along with whatever else you can do from a health perspective and automation in terms of the manufacturing also. All these can be sort of used by 5G and they get automated in that sense.
Absolutely,
correct?
absolutely.
So that's where I see the world moving. Interesting, interesting. Mayur, your thoughts on this since you are in that industry? So
Yeah, I think,
use cases?
I think Marco has covered quite a few very important pointers. But adding to, because he's, I think, majorly focused on the four-wheelers, so I can probably talk, I can add a couple of pennies on two-wheelers. While, as he rightly said, it is the EV transition is going to have in a phased manner, but I think the right part to understand it, which exact segment is going to transition first. When it comes to four-wheelers, and when we talk about India, people start with the mathematics and Excel as soon as you hit the question mark, okay? So when we talk about, say, last mile delivery guy, when we talk about a gig worker, when we talk about all these 15 minutes, 20 minutes delivery segments, probably these are the key focused areas that should be catered to first, and that's where the importance of IoT and that's where the importance of connected vehicles, with the help of 5G is going to come in. Today when we are actually looking at these vehicles, there are fleet operators who would be having a fleet of, say, 25,000, 30,000 odd gig workers. It's important for them to understand the overall health of a vehicle. 2-3 years back, there were quite a few incidents of fire catching up on the, two-wheelers, and that actually hit the economy pretty bad for two-wheelers as well. But now, as and when we are evolving, if we can get hold of the exact battery health, exact, overall health of the vehicle, this can be very, closely monitored. Quick actions and remedies can be taken up immediately if I talk about that. So, that's exactly what I would be talking as well. So connected vehicles, yes, it's very important. And as soon as we, we can transition, it is going to be a game changer.
It's not only for four-wheelers, for two-wheelers, for anything that,
Yes,
from
absolutely.
a vehicle standpoint, that's what your view is. Shakya, I'd like to come to you on a different thought. So, Western world is adopting autonomous vehicles. We've heard about Uber being without a driver and stuff like that, already being there. Are the emerging countries, India being one of them because of the dynamics that we have, is it ready for all this kind of automation, connected vehicles? What are the challenges you see? And also, what are the ways to overcome it? And also, just to touch on that from a regulation standpoint, are there those, because this will need some regulation there. So just wanted to get your thoughts on all this.
Thank you. I think most pertinent part, the moment we talk of India, many times we feel, are we behind the world or we are together with them? So friend, let me share my experience. I think we know the regulation in the country that any car which goes 15 years old have to be replaced, right? So I thought, let me just have a round and find out which car I can go for. And I'm sure most of you will be having the similar experience. The first experience was that nowadays, if you go to the highest segment of the car, not in, I'm telling within the segment, highest model of the car. Segment may be, say, 50 lakhs plus, or segment may be 20 lakhs, or whatever. The additional cost, which is currently is about 2 to 5 lakhs, is with respect to whether you are going to have how many sensors in the car. Now, the sensors may be pertaining to the navigation in terms of providing the your parking facilities, the right margins, left margins, or it may be relating to the infotainment, as my friend has rightly mentioned, which kind of applications you would like to have there on, what kind of the different equipment you are going to place. So as far as cars are concerned, I think we are already on the path, and many of the manufacturers had already come out with many communication related equipments built into the system and already are coming with on the road services. In terms of the usage, I think let me just add one more point in addition to what my friends are there adding to. One more important aspect in terms of the connecting car is going to be the intelligent driving. The intelligent driving means you should be able to know the situation. Typically, when you are moving in the environment where there could be possibility of the flood or the landslide or any kind of the accident happened, so you can decide which road you want to take and you do not want to take. And when my friend was giving the example of the Mumbai, we do agree the kind of traffic what we have in Mumbai is completely different than what the rest of the world is having. But then there, the intelligent driving is going to facilitate more things to us, eliminating the places where you are going to have the large number of the vehicles or the traffic jams, or where you can have the shortest path, and those kind of the navigation could be facilitated. Coming to the last part, that how the regulation in the country is getting evolved. So as the technology is getting evolved, we are together with them. Whenever we talk of the policy in terms of connected cars, we have multiple ministries involved. One is the Ministry of Communication, which I belongs to, relating to what, since communication would require wireless connectivity, so we have to have the dedicated band, we have to have the cellular bands wherein the communication within the vehicle, vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to pedestrian, vehicle to the traffic signals, vehicle to reflectors. So whatever infrastructure is put on the road, you have to have some mechanism and the fixed spectrum available for there. And I'm happy to share, as far as the spectrum part is concerned, that Government of India has already notified in our national frequency allocation table that this is the band wherein the people can have dedicated sensors developed therein. So you do not have any interference with the rest of the systems. So that work has already been done. Then we know the moment it comes vehicle, there is a requirement to have the Ministry of Transport along with Communications. We also need to have regulations because it is relating to the safety and security and having the infrastructure put along the road be taken care into the system. So we have to have the Ministry of Highways, National, so that ministry is also there with us. So about a year back, we came out with some policy document. The DoT part, we worked with the industry and there has been broadly consensus that what it should be. This document had been shared with the other ministries as the stakeholders. I am sure in due course, we will have the fantastic document having almost everybody's views taken into and placed for the public consultation. So even the individual, whoever is having the vision over that document could be rightly considered and put therein.
Good,
So that is
excellent
the
to hear.
current framework of the policy making.
There is a proper thought process going on around how to have regulation and spectrum for this. Excellent to hear that. Very nice. Girish, your thoughts on this? Is India ready? A country like India and similar countries, are we ready for autonomous, connected, driverless vehicles kind of stuff?
India is kind of the technological hub, as we call it today, and you know the amount of time we have taken to roll out 5G. It's one of the fastest in the globe. So definitely India is ready. And again, when it comes to connected cars, everybody jumps to automated cars, I think, autonomous driving. I think this is the end stage. This actually starts with a smart grid traffic system, wherein, as Sir mentioned, right, the sensors. So this ecosystem needs to be in place. When we say V2X, it's actually vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to infra, and vehicle to pedestrian. So this is the communication that actually happens. And when a car actually is part of a V2X communication system, it becomes a node which sends out all this information. So definitely we have the networks ready today, 5G to be specific, where we can take the next step with help of the government, and we can work with different stakeholders to actually build this use case.
Excellent. Yeah. So that's, I think, over time, most of the India-centric, I would say, use cases will also develop, in my view. There is, the roads are pretty crowded, busy, there is chaos there, but then that itself might become a use case. Right?
Absolutely. The platooning use case, right? So platooning use cases which has been used outside in different countries, it actually guides the traffic operators to actually make sure that they actually know when there is going to be a large number of traffic coming in, and if it's less, how to platoon vehicles, especially used in logistics, and also in case of emergency. So I think these can be the use cases which will then help us to go to the eventual use case, which is the autonomous driving.
No, excellent. So Marco, over to you. Your company, you're obviously in the forefront of enterprise businesses and connected vehicles, connectivity. So from a technology standpoint, 5G, obviously we're talking about connected vehicles will need 5G. So what, besides 5G, or is it only 5G that can happen? What other technologies can be there for having connected vehicles? What are you seeing from a technological standpoint? I think audience will love to hear around, that piece around connected vehicles.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of things happening, and the buzzword AI has already dropped, so I won't use that anymore. But from a connectivity perspective, I think it's good to understand if we truly want to get to a connected vehicle world, autonomous driving and so on, then a car has to be connected anytime, anywhere. And if you look at the coverage, and the coverage is very impressive already, but there are areas still that cars cannot connect to a cellular network. So I think one of the things that will happen is that we think of multi-mode connectivity. So satellite is going to play a role in the future for sure. And then seamless switching between 5G and satellite, which is part of the standards as it is, but is being developed. That is an important feature that we see and is being asked for by the auto OEMs. That's one thing. The other piece that is important is that you obviously have to think of the auto OEMs as manufacturers that distribute globally. So it's not a local play, it's a global play, which means that they have to have solutions that work globally and that also can be managed through a single solution. So developing just a solution for India, which is obviously a huge market, is of interest, maybe shorter term, but if you think about the local manufacturers like Tata Motors, they will expand into other regions. And how do you create a solution that is truly global with a connectivity solution that's not just working in India, but can work everywhere in the world? That is an important piece, and aggregating everything into a single platform, a single solution that can be used across the world, and that you can leverage the data, because it's all about the data that's flowing to the network in an intelligent way, in a let's say, the singular way. That is the future of connectivity, and that's what we provide as Tata Coms, not just through mobile connectivity, but basically through the network clouds and of the aggregation of all that in an orchestration platform. I believe those are the key elements of the future of a connected car from a technology perspective.
I know, Girish, you wanted to, I love to hear your thoughts also on the similar topic around, so underlying 5G, but what else along with 5G is needed for connectivity?
So I think with a grid of all smart sensors, right, there's a lot of data that this car will actually generate. And this needs to go back to the edge compute node, to decision makers, to the cloud. And for this, you require a specific transport connectivity, which cannot be shared. You need specifically hardware sliced network, which has low latency, because any incident that happens, like a collision, right, it cannot actually wait. So the decisions have to be taken real time. So you need a specific set of network, which is hardware sliced, ultra low latency, end-to-end clear bandwidth. And again, very important that it's not shared with any other application. It has to be totally dedicated. This is a key factor. And we also need support, where we need to be better in terms of fiberization, because when we talk about having an autonomous car or a smart grid, we are talking about sensors at edge and very closer to the user. So, and if you're carrying so much amount of data, we talk about sensors like infrared cameras, HD cameras. So you need a lot of capacity at the transport, and that can only happen with fiber penetration. So that's other aspect. And Ciena, we are already working with a lot of different Department of Transport in various countries where we've actually built this smart grid. We're working with them to improvise and go to the next stage, which is the autonomous driving assistance system. So this is something that we're already doing right now.
So besides 5G, fiberization is also super critical, is your view.
And one last point, and this is something that I believe Tata Com already does. We had a mention about an F1 race earlier by Mr. Sharma. So if you look at how that actually works, every car that is running the race sends out the information to the paddock. The paddock assesses all the information, and it goes to their headquarters. And the time it takes, and the race happens all across the globe, the time it takes from the racetrack to the headquarters is only 130 milliseconds. And this is, and the information that goes back, even the heating of brakes, the tire wear, the way the driver is actually driving, he's taking extra milliseconds to take a turn. So this is the information that goes in. Imagine this bringing a smart grid network in a city like Mumbai. It will make driving so easy, it will avoid so many accidents. So I think this is one use case already there. Maybe you can add to it because Tata does that for a lot of F1 races. Yeah. So I think this is a use case that can be expanded to a smart grid system.
Oh, excellent. This is, the F1 thing is it's phenomenal how the connectivity even works over there with that high speeds. It's brilliant. But I mean, Mayur, EVs, EVs with the usage of it is increasing globally. It's, obviously Tesla's increase in India also is gradually getting there, but there are still challenges, charging points, how to make it easier. So this whole connected vehicle concept, how will it impact the EV dynamics, EV industry, and what are the challenges, and how do you overcome that? Love to hear your views, and Shakya, your views on this.
Yeah, it's a very good question actually, Vinish. So, while making our products, and this exercise started somewhere in 2020, and we sat down with about 250 to 500 odd delivery guys. Now, these are the people who actually ride the two-wheelers the most, probably to the tune of about, say, 150 to 200 kilometers in a single day. While, if it's a normal commuter, he would not be riding more than probably, say, 40, 50 kilometers. Well, majority of them. But these people, when we were discussing, would you want to transition to EVs? The first question that was coming to their mind, where are they going to charge? While, there are certain things I would want to highlight from the base. Number one, there has to be certain standardization that has to be there. I'm not in particularly talking about the charging infrastructure, but now also talking about the IoT infrastructure as well. Even today, I think about 60% of the two-wheelers that are there in the market are not having any sort of IoT device. And that's a shame. Because with the amount of features that you get, the amount of power that a rider gets or the OEM gets with the help of an IoT, that's immense. So if talking about the challenges when we say, supposedly we have a rider in a tier 2 or 3 city, for majority of the time, it's very hard for the OEM to even speculate about how exactly the rider is going to ride. There were certain accidents that actually happened in, say, remote areas of India, where the rider could have actually been saved, or the vehicle could have actually been saved, had the IoT was working fine. So these all cases. Now, when we talk about in India, there are about 40 crore two-wheelers, 40 crore active two-wheelers, which are still registered with the RTO. So while, of course, it is going to take years probably when all these vehicles are connected or connected with IoT, the one challenge that we see is, of course, IoT should not be an optional thing. Probably in 2 to 3 years of time, all the vehicles mandatorily have to be connected in some way or the other. Number two, riders are to be trained as well for this. The idea of saving probably 3,000 to 5,000 rupees, because with the technology evolving, the prices have come down very sharply. That should not be a hurdle anymore. And number three, that's the elephant in the room. That's the second elephant in the room since the morning. There has to be one standardization, which should be there when it comes to the data. Because who's controlling the data? That's a question mark everyone would be asking. Yes, and while Sir is, of course, working, framing the policy and the other things, there has to be some standardization that has to be followed by all the OEMs, irrespective.
Excellent, and exactly goes to him. He's the one who can control the elephant. And so, Shakya, on EVs and all this topic on standardization.
Thank you. I think the first part, with respect to the requirement of EVs and then the supporting ecosystem there too. The foremost thing is, with the evolution of the sensors and availability of the information, together makes the things easier for the making deployment faster. How? Typically, whenever we talk of the vehicles or the connected cars, there are two kinds of the connectivities. Most of you may be knowing all. One is the connectivity within the car. So when it comes to within the car, it may be proprietary of myself, And I may be collecting multiple data with respect to the tear and wear of the different parts, maybe the fuel label, may be relating to sensors, other parts. But that is all information is getting generated, stored, and processed within the car. To this extent, things are within the control of any car manufacturer. He doesn't have to much bother, except that he may be having the applications taken from some of the leading vendors. The another important part of the connectivity comes how he gets connected to the rest of the world. So rest of the world means some pedestrian is passing. How does he get the information that, okay, this person who is going to pass also should have the information that there is a, say, the racing of cars is going to take place, right? So this communication is not within the control of the vehicle per se, neither the manufacturer or the owner or the driver. Similarly, some natural disaster has taken place, or even the other kind of the disaster has taken place. This information is not available with the vehicle. This information has to be fetched in from the other resources and made available for making the decision by the driver. Now, this connectivity is more important in terms of the, as my friend said, ultra low latency, because the movement latency is going to be little higher. Whatever work we are doing, by the time accident may already happen. Or you would have already reached to the disaster site, or you would have faced the, say, the cyclone which was going to come. But have you got the information timely, probably this all would have been saved, right? So, 3-4 things are the related concerns there too. One thing is, the computing has come to the edge, but my problem is you do not have the much more capable computing on the edge side. Because larger the compute you put on the edge, cost is going to have the subject therein. The moment you put all the, say, your compute on the cloud or at the centralized place, then the concern is the latency. So you have to make balance what has to be done between these two and how the most effective car could be made. Now, when you put the large compute, even at the cost level at the edge, the problem becomes another is the security. Now, most of the things will rest on the internet, and we understand how the cyber frauds are taking place. So the cyber security of that specific information is going to be a big concern. Like, I'm telling you theoretically, somebody should not take to that hard label. I drive a car from my house to, say, my office every day. Now, my data is getting stored at some central store. And if somebody watches the pattern of my going office and back, probably he can find out at what dot time I am there at which place, right? Absolutely. So it is very easier for somebody else or the inimical elements to take advantage or disadvantage that of, right? So the security of this kind of the information is very much important when we are devising the mechanism to provide these facilities. Secondly comes the data privacy. Since this data is not going to retain within my car or with my server alone, there has to be accountability with respect to the data privacy. And third thing, which is most important for all Indians per se, it may not be that important to my friend there, because their economy doesn't play much role. But in our most of the cases, if something I can buy at a few penny less, I prefer, okay, one feature I may miss, okay, I'm fine with this. Because we try to find out the value engineering. We really do not go for the highest value. We believe in the value measuring, what much I invest and how much I get. If I'm able to get that, is written fine. So there, until there is an interoperability of the different systems, that is going to be a big challenge. My friend from the Ciena may have come out with some technology, from the TCS something else comes, from the Mahindra Tech something else comes. Unless they have the interoperability based on the international standards, because even if the standards are Indian, it is not going to serve at all, because then it is going to be limited market. Yes. But if you have the standards which are coming out from the ITU, and the whole world follows, then the purpose of our economy of skill also serves well. So I think through this platform and all the vendors, OEMs, which are directly or indirectly getting connected, my earnest request on behalf of the Government of India is that kindly work out towards the standardization and the interoperability along with the rest of the technical evolutions, whatever are being taken.
Oh, very well put. I think very pertinent points. I think you put it absolutely correctly, the importance of standardization. But you know, I was about to get into this whole thing around the security piece, and because you know, anyway, the world is so connected. All our data, everything is available with the banks and everything. We are seeing so much of frauds happening now with the connected vehicles. We get into this space that okay, even the vehicle is in that, you know, sort of privacy can become an issue. So Marco, in your view, how is that being countered? Is that the threat? Does it matter? Or if there's anything like that, then what is, from a technological standpoint, how is that being taken care of in this connected world?
In terms of security, you mean data security?
The connected vehicles being secure, you know, in that
I
sense.
mean, it's an obvious point, right? I think it's everybody assumes that the security is there, and all the solutions that are being built are, well, designed in a secure way. So in that sense, it's a must-have, not just from a data perspective, but also from a reliability perspective of the technology. There's some examples given that have, let's say, outcomes that one would want to prevent. So in every aspect of the design, the security is a starting point, especially in the connected vehicle space. I think that's a given. If I may just pick up on the point of, let's say, the following the standards and the interoperability, I think that's one of the most important points. I couldn't agree more. If you think about a car, there's all kinds of sensors in the car, and they don't communicate to each other because they all have different protocols. So it's just an ecosystem of different vendors not communicating to each other. So if you want to solve that, there's elements in the car, there's elements in the connectivity, there's elements in other ecosystems, and the only way to make it work, including the security and making sure that it's all interoperable, secure, those are, let's say, foundational elements that we need to solve as an industry to make this come to scale. Otherwise, it will just not happen. And I do believe that an open ecosystem, collaboration, is the answer to that, and following the standards. So I couldn't agree more. And that also holds true for security standards that we're obviously very much working on as Tata Comms as well.
And Mayur, from an OEM standpoint, is that something that is something that comes in the mind while you are, you know, manufacturing stuff and thinking about new technologies? Is that something which is worrying?
Well, it's of course more boon than bane, Vinish. So yes, while at this point of time we are more focused on how much more can we get out of connectivity and all the other features. But yes, security is an underlying challenge that we have to cater to, because as an OEM we are also talking to probably 15 to 20 large clients, and some are competing against each other in the same industry. So that becomes a challenge that we have to also answer to. But yes, as Sir rightly said, and Mr. Marco as well, so the industry together has to work to come up with the best of the solution in this regard.
Perfect. Okay, Girish, your thoughts? We just have some time left, so your views on this topic?
Yeah, always open to work on a platform where we can jointly build this use case. I think if we can have a forum, Ciena will definitely participate. And coming back to the security aspect, I think that's a challenge that we have on anything that we do via the internet. So this is something that is not unconquered. We have done this in other streams. I believe we can do that here as well. So just finishing at the positive note.
No, absolutely. So I think great discussion. I think this was a great way of putting thoughts that you guys have put. I think to summarize it, use cases are, adoptability is happening. Use cases will develop, keep on developing over time, as with any new technology. 5G obviously is the underlying layer, but then besides that, we need to think about security, we need to think about privacy. Standardization is important, I think, as bodies, government, and the industry together has to partner on the standardization piece. And this is the way forward. I mean, there's no denying it. EV will play a very important role, purely from an ESG standpoint, and also from, the general fact about, having EV vehicles is going to help everybody. But then the automation and connectivity will help. So I think, let's see if that progresses. Maybe next year we come and it's more of that. And I think lastly, the use case that I mentioned might become a reality, as we all feel, right? So thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot, panelists, and
Thank you.
great having
Thank
the
you.
discussion. Thank you.